Hello, it is September 15th, and our word of the day is from James chapter 3. Who is wise and understanding among you? Show by your good life that your works are done with gentleness born of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not be boastful and false to the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, devilish. For where there is envy and selfish ambition, there will also be disorder and wickedness of every kind. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy. And a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace for those who make peace. Those conflicts and disputes among you, where do they come from? Do they not come from your cravings that are at war within you? You want something and do not have it, so you commit murder. And you covet something and cannot obtain it, so you engage in disputes and conflicts. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly, in order to spend what you get on your pleasures. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. In our reading of James in this late season of Pentecost, we are reading from a book that is very concerned about partiality being shown in the church. James is worried about the unfairness that is inherent when we value the wealthy and those of high status in the community over the poor and those without any status. James is saying this is hypocritical and antithetical to the Spirit of God. And so James is talking about wisdom in this passage here. Show by your good life that your works are done with gentleness born of wisdom. And James is saying this is not just a wisdom that comes from head knowledge. Instead, it's a wisdom that comes from head knowledge connected to the heart. And he's saying it matters what our motivations are. It matters whether we are doing things out of selfish ambition, whether we're doing them out of envy or a desire to best our neighbor in some way. Those things, even if we are doing good, those things will color the good that we do, so that it in fact drives division rather than brings the community of Christ together. James is talking about a wisdom from above. When he says earthly, unspiritual, devilish, he's describing the wisdom that animates the world. It's the kind of wisdom that values those who make money over those who don't make as much money. It's the kind of wisdom that values certain members of a certain political party over those of another. It's a kind of wisdom that values those who are citizens versus those who are not yet citizens of a nation. James is saying whatever those dividing lines that exist, he is saying that partiality is not the wisdom of God. Because the wisdom of God is a wisdom that is pure and peaceable. It's a wisdom that is unmixed with any bad intentions. It's fully good intentioned and expects goodness from others. It is a wisdom that is gentle and willing to yield. It is not a wisdom that is so self-principled that it ignores the needs of others. It's a wisdom that's full of mercy and has no partiality or hypocrisy. We are willing to forgive each other. And so we can live as a community. We do not hold one another's sins against each other, but accept that God has forgiven them and that we are called to do the same. That's a high standard. God is asking a lot from us. But James is not condemning us by just pointing out how we fail. A common misunderstanding of James is that it has no grace, that in its focus on the law, it forgets the grace of Christ. But the fact that James writes this, the fact that James is looking to rescue the church communities that may be struggling with these problems is a sign in itself that there is a possibility of grace. James is saying there is a problem, But God is calling you in this moment, and there is hope for you. You can draw near to God. Reject the devil. There's a lot of devil going on right now. But if you decide to turn back toward God, God will draw near to you. James is not condemning the church, the early church that he wrote this to. James is writing this out of love for them and urging them to turn back. And that is, that is the same for us. Whatever is in our hearts that is not a gentleness born of wisdom, which there is plenty, both for myself and for everyone and everyone else. This is a reminder that you can turn back wherever you are on the road. As a Christian community, we try to embody a spiritual wisdom. And that spiritual wisdom might be being welcome to the immigrant and the poor in our communities. That spiritual wisdom might be remembering that all of our resources, both financial and material, our talents, they are ultimately gifts from God, and so we can freely give them forward to those who need them. A spiritual wisdom is a wisdom that says, there's a pandemic going on right now. We might need to change how we worship and how we gather. We might need to change our practices because we value the health of our neighbors and the health of those in our community. All of those things are spiritual wisdom that don't put pride on ourselves as perfect people, but pursue God's wisdom. No one who does these things is doing so out of fear, but out of confidence that God will draw near to us, and we will receive the wisdom that we ask for. This is heady stuff, and it is difficult stuff, but God will draw near to us and aid us in whatever we're trying to do day to day. I hope you have an excellent day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.